A very good noon to all of you. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible. I am Nikita and I welcome you to this session, Reading and Solving Difficult, the so-called difficult RC passages, right? So we will talk about how many difficult passages really are asked in CAT, and if they are asked, how to navigate those RC passages. Right, so that's what we are going to discuss today. That's on the agenda today. Just give me a go ahead that I'm visible and audible, and then I'll begin. Yes. All right. Okay. So, any guesses from your end? How many difficult RCs are actually asked in CAT? Those that can be called difficult by the masses, right? Of course, the definition of difficult varies for everyone, but those that people will generally agree on, candidates will generally agree on that, okay, this RC was difficult. Yes. Any guesses? Hello, Sai. Hello, Kumaresan. Welcome to the session, Sai. So this is a good move to attend these sessions as well because these are concept building sessions, right? So any idea? Anybody who has taken CAT earlier? Anybody who took CAT 2022? Okay, so Kumaresan says 2. All right, you are correct. So on an average, see if there are 4 RC passages. So in the recent years, this has been the trend that out of 4 RC passages, 2 of them tend to be on the easier side, right? The other two, out of the other two, one would be, let's say, moderate to difficult. One could be categorized as relatively difficult, more difficult. Okay, so this has been the trend for the other two passages. However, a student with good preparation, right? Somebody who has solved, all the mock tests, somebody who solved all the previous year papers, okay, somebody who's prepared well, worked on their strategy, can attempt. So, if there are 8 questions here, a good student can comfortably attempt 5 to 6 questions, even in these difficult RCs, so to say. Right. So we have to see how that can happen for us, how we can reach here that even in a difficult RC passage, I am able to comprehend it enough that, okay, out of 4, I am able to attempt at least 2. And if let's say it's a moderate to difficult one, then 3 questions out of the 4. So that's what we are going to learn today. All right. So my question to you is, what makes an RC difficult? Yes, we come back from the exam, we come back from a mock and we say, oh, that RC was a difficult RC. So what challenges did you face in the exam that you are now calling it a difficult RC? Tell me. Yes. Hi, Pratyush. Tell me, what makes an RC difficult? Okay. So for me, okay, let me share my experience with you. When I read the first couple of sentences and I feel that the structure of the sentences is somehow not very simple, or some extremely niche words, jargon words have been used. Okay, some jargon has been used there. So jargon is words belonging to a specific field that are usually understood by people of that field itself. So if let's say a lot of jargon has been used, if the sentences are very wordy, they are long, they require a lot of time for me to understand because the sentence structure is so complex, that's when I feel that, okay, this RC is difficult for me, right? Okay, now some of you have answered language, absolutely, right? So this is what I mean when I say jargon, when I say the sentence structure, right? The language of the RC passage, right? Now, Pratyush says probably a philosophy passage. So that means, yes, the genre can also decide this, whether an RC is difficult or easy for me, right? So some students find certain genres to be their strengths, whereas certain genres tend to be tricky for them, right? So the genre, right? The vocabulary, and absolutely right, if any jargon has been used, if the writing style, sentence structure is such, right, choice of words is such, these are usually the things that make an RC difficult for me. Now my question to you is, can these challenges be addressed? Yes. Can we address these challenges before the exam, before the actual exam, not right during the exam? Tell me. These things can be worked upon, don't you think? Vocabulary, if let's say I do not understand a lot of words in an RC passage, that means currently I need to build my vocabulary. I need to work on my vocabulary, something that I've been telling you from day one when I gave you the strategy for CAT 2023. So I can work on my vocabulary right from now by indulging. Okay, I'm projecting it as a pleasurable activity. Yes, by indulging in vocabulary books, they can actually be interesting, they can be fun, right? So word par is something that I've suggested to you. Playing vocabulary quizzes is something that I've suggested to you. So this is for developing high frequency word vocabulary, right? uh, High frequency word vocabulary. However, in your RC passages, sometimes this is what poses a bigger challenge, right? Not these high frequency words, but the jargon of a field. Because you're not familiar with the genre itself, that's why the words of that genre feel alien to you. So, for CAT or for any exam where RC passages dominate, you have to build a genre based vocabulary. Okay, that happens when you read more and more articles, more and more books from that genre. That happens gradually, right? So, for instance, if let's say when I was in my undergrad and you had thrown a term heteronormativity at me, I would have been at a loss, right? I would not have understood it because back then I did not read any articles on gender, right, on sexuality. But now, after reading some articles and books on it, I understand what the word heteronormative means, right? So this all these things, all these genre based words, you can grasp only when you read stuff related to that. You can't find any one book that will give you all business related terms or all gender related terms. There's no one such book that will give you an exhaustive list, right? So some of the challenges you can address before the exam. What is genre? Genre means the area, the field from which a particular a particular RC has been asked, right? So, for instance, business and economics is a genre, science and technology, sociology, philosophy, these are genres, these are the fields, right? So, for movies also we say this, no, this movie belongs to the horror genre. That means किस type की movie है, horror है, comedy है, tragedy है, romance है, right? All these terms, they are genres. Okay. Yes, Pratik, I will suggest some books. Don't worry, I'll suggest some books today. Okay, so we can work on these things. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And how can we work on these things? Let's see. So, first of all, you should read in depth essays. So, if you analyze your CAT 2022 all slots, you will realize that the passages that students came out and said were tough, they were from either e magazines, right? E magazines. So, magazines such as Eon, Arts and Letters Daily is a compilation. So, there is a tab there, there is a column there called Essays of Note. Okay, and these essays will help. Then, the other resource from which these difficult passages were taken were journal articles, research journal articles. Now, you must be wondering, oh my God, will I have to read research journals? But not all the articles in a journal are difficult. Open nature.com today and you'll realize what I'm talking about. It's a journal, it's a very popular science journal, but there are a lot of comprehensible articles there, right? Of course, they'll be a little more difficult than your average newspaper article, but when you read them, you can understand them. Similarly, JSTOR has articles, it has case studies that can be understood by an average person. So you can actually, in case your college has access to it, if you're in college, then do make use of JSTOR, because if you look at your CAT 2022, 2 to 3 passages were from JSTOR. Across the 3 slots, I think 3 passages at least were from JSTOR. Okay, so extra mehnat thodi si karni padegi. There's no substitute to that if you want to become good at the difficult RC passages, right? That's what today's session is about. I'm not talking about the easy RC passages today. And non-fiction books of diverse genres. Okay, of diverse genres. In the past, we've had an RC passage from Sapiens. It's a book by Yuval Noah Harari, right? We've had one from On Writing by Stephen King. We've had some from very esoteric non-fiction books. Like there was one called The Sacred Gaze. Okay, I hadn't even heard of this book before your CAT examination. So some such esoteric non-fiction books have also become the sources of your RC passages. Right? So ये सब read करना पड़ेगा. Okay. Yes, yes, absolutely, Jaydev. From Eon, and this is not just this was not just CAT 2022. Look at your previous year papers also. Eon has formed the source of many RCs. Right? Okay. And the next part is, of course, this will help you to build that vocabulary, to get used to that writing style, right? The next part is solve. When you solve your previous year papers and there you come across such, so to say, difficult RCs, you will get exposed to diverse genres and various language levels, right? Difficult language type, etc. And this will again further your understanding of a particular genre, of a particular level of difficulty. So previous year papers, not just of CAT, but also of other exams such as ZAT, particularly ZAT, because ZAT RCs also tend to be on the difficult side as per the general mass opinion. And of course, along with the previous year papers, it through the mock tests also. Because see, when we also create mock tests, we keep this in mind. We look at the previous year papers and we see from what all sources they have been framed. We try to match our sources to those sources, the difficulty level to that difficulty level. So your mock tests are again a very good source to, build an understanding of difficult RC passages. So this is what you should do to overcome the barriers. Are, that's amazing, Pratyush, The Republic. So it's a popular book, it's a controversial book, it's a seminal work, right, Republic? And some of the suggestions made by Plato are very rational. However, some you will find that he is biased towards philosophers. Okay, I don't want to make you biased right now because you started reading, but you'll find this that he has this bias towards philosophers' intellect, right? Okay, so this was about how we can overcome these barriers. Now, we'll read an RC passage today, of course, you know that. So, I want you to understand this, that you do not need 100% understanding of the RC passage. Okay, it is okay if you do not understand a couple of words here and there. It is okay if you don't understand one sentence, let's say. If you get a broader understanding, right, you get the gist, you grasp the gist, you will still be able to attempt some questions, right? So this is clear, I hope. And here in such passages, reading the questions first can help you, because in case the question is from a specific sentence, let's say that sentence is written here and you are asked, what does this sentence used in the passage mean? So when you read that sentence after reading this question, you will pay a lot of attention to it. So in such passages that you find difficult, reading the questions before reading the RC can help you. Okay. So what are the possibilities? Yes. What are the possibilities? After reading a difficult RC, one possibility is that you grasp the gist, but you don't understand some specific portions, right? Which is okay, right? You've grasped the gist. There are going to be, see, out of these 4 questions, maybe 2 questions are going to be such that are based on the entire passage, that are based on the overall passage, overall understanding of the passage, right? So you can very comfortably attempt those 2 then, yes, and try one more perhaps. And another possibility is that you just got a rough idea of the central message. You didn't really get it completely, but you understand some specific portions well. कुछ specific portions आपको clearly समझ में आ गए. Now, if there are questions from those specific portions, now you can attempt these comfortably. Maybe let's say you'll not be able to attempt these ones, but you can attempt these comfortably. So there are always possibilities, no matter whether you've got a broad understanding, or you've got a narrow understanding of just some specific parts. Don't leave the passage entirely. That's my suggestion. Okay. So Jaydev, why that may have happened with you is time pressure and exam pressure. Okay. So when, let's say, you took the mocks, that actual exam pressure was absent. Fine, the time pressure, the time constraint was still there, but you knew that it was a mock, it was not an actual exam. And when you went to the actual exam, that kind of weighed on you that, okay, it's a do or die situation perhaps for me. That could be one reason. Another reason could be that the mocks that you took, let's say the mock test that you took, see if the level of the passages there matched the level of the passages that came in the exam or that had come earlier. That is also essential, right? So these two reasons could have contributed to, let's say, a lower score. Either you got nervous, you were in that exam pressure, you probably spent an extraordinary amount of time in one RC passage so that less was left for the others, right? Or it could be that your practice, that in the practice, you probably didn't practice these kinds of RCs. So see what the error was or what was lacking. Okay? So नाउ दैट यू रियलाइज कि या तो मुझे अच्छा पूरा तो समझ में आ गया, ब्रॉडली उसका आइडिया पता चल गया, बट मुझे स्पेसिफिक कुछ कुछ पोर्शंस बस समझ नहीं आए, दैट्स वन पॉसिबिलिटी. अनदर पॉसिबिलिटी इज दैट ओके, मुझे पूरा तो ये कंप्लीट तो नहीं समझ में आ रहा दैट व्हाट इज द ऑथर ट्राइंग टू से, बट मुझे स्पेसिफिक पोर्शंस आ गए हैं समझ, कुछ कुछ पोर्शंस मुझे एब्सोल्युटली क्लियर है, राइट? सो सॉल्व अकॉर्डिंगली देन. There are going to be specific idea questions also. There are going to be questions based on the entire passage also. So see which ones work for you. And please give a shot to all the questions, meaning read all the question stems, read all the options. Why am I saying that? Because sometimes, let's say you did not get a very good understanding of the overall passage. However, the options in this question might be so easy that you may be able to eliminate very quickly. So don't leave a question just by reading the question stem. If you have the time, go through all the options. Okay, maybe the options are so easy that you're able to eliminate, right? And this is just a suggestion from my end that if possible, attempt the main idea question at the end. Why? Because before this, let's say you are exposed to three more questions. Let's say they come from various areas. You go back to those areas. You sometimes reread those areas. So that also cements your understanding of the overall passage as well, right? So when you come to the main idea question towards the end, you will have an even better understanding than you had after your first reading. And that's why it helps attempting the main idea question towards the end in that particular RC. Okay. So I hope you are with me. All of you are active, listening to me. Everything is good so far. Things are clear to you. Okay. So let's attempt an RC passage now. And again, try to navigate. कुछ difficult लगे, so psychologically don't think ये तो मुझे समझ में नहीं आएगा. Oh, I won't be able to understand this. Oh, I'm not getting this. Just try to understand it from the context as much as you are able to. जितना आ रहा है समझ, okay, fine. And proceed. Keep proceeding. Keep navigating. Right? Think of it as an activity that you're just learning. When we start learning driving, for instance, okay, on the first day it appears very difficult, right? इतनी सारी चीजें एक साथ manage करनी है. So think of it like that, that okay, I am navigating a new terrain. Okay, so navigate it with a positive attitude. Let's begin. Okay, so here's your RC passage, and this is your first paragraph. Read it. Once you're done, we'll go to the next slide. Yeah. Done. Perfect. Okay. How about this slide? Done. Okay. Yes, genre is also correct. Vengeance, genre, both pronunciations are fine. Okay. The last slide. Done this one as well. Okay. So I understand that you understood a bit of it. Okay. Some portions were not clear, right? Just a second. Perhaps, shayad. Perhaps means when we are not sure of something, that's when we use perhaps. That maybe this is the case. All right. So, oh, I'm so sorry. There's this one last paragraph. Sorry. This stupid animation. Yes. This is one general feature of a history of music's emergence. The history was at once socio-cultural and biological. The capacities recruited in musicking are many. So, describing its emergence involves following several or many separate strands. Right. So, the last two paragraphs are basically about music's emergence, right? How it emerged. Now, there was a main idea question that was the first question here, but I've placed it at the end, right? Let's attempt the other questions first, then we'll go to the main idea question. Okay, so question one says, based on the passage, which one of the following statements is a valid argument about the emergence of music or musicking? Now, see, the good thing is I have just read about emergence of music in my last two paragraphs, right? And I can always go back to them also. So this question is a specific idea question. It's based on a specific portion of the passage. And if you got even a rough understanding of what was being said in the last two paragraphs, then you should give this a shot. So tell me, which one of them would be a valid argument about the emergence of music? Read the options. Okay. Read the options in case you wish to go back. So in this period, you should have been able to read this entire paragraph again, right? And then come back to the options again, right? So if you see, the argument is about the emergence of music, and these two paragraphs talked about the emergence of music. I went back and even reread the whole paragraphs. Now tell me which one fits. Pratik has already answered. Do we agree? Sai, what do you say? Just one response. Come on. Anushka says two. Okay. Pratyush says two. Not three. Okay. Jaydev says not three. All right. So, if in case, let's say in the exam also, you are confused between 2 and 3, let's say. So, you have to check this then. You have to check this. Although musicking is not language like, it shares the quality of being a form of expression. All right. Now, my question is the first thing that I will think about too is it addressing the question or not? Does it talk about the emergence of music? Not strictly. Not strictly. It talks about the characteristics of music, uske traits, uske features, isn't it? But emergence of music, this one is closer to that. However, still to be sure, okay, just to satisfy myself, I will still go back and check where this part was written, right? That does it have any overlap with language or not. This is there in this paragraph, so retention comes into play. You should remember that, okay, this was there in this paragraph, right? So it says that uh, in the area of overlap, linguistic capacities seem to be particularly important, and humans are language makers in addition to music makers. All right, then we say humans are symbol makers too. But in fundamental features, musicking is neither language like nor symbol like. And from these differences come many clues to its ancient emergence. So it is not language like, right? Then we are saying that human beings cannot help but tangle music in webs of symbolic thought and expression, habitually making it a component of behavioral complexes that form such expression. So human beings tangle musicking, the act of making music, into a, into webs of symbolic thought and expression. Right. So now let's go back and see this. Although musicking is not language like, it shares the quality of being a form of expression. Is it in itself a form of expression, or do human beings tangle it in the web of symbols and expressions? Yes. So going first of all, it is not answering the question about emergence of music, and even when I checked it further, my passage does not exactly say this. Eliminated. Okay, all right. Then what else? So 2 and 3, this is what you've answered. Okay, 4 says all musical work. The moment I see extreme words, I anyway become suspicious, right? All musical work is located in the overlap between linguistic capacity and music production. Nowhere has the passage said this. This is distorted. Okay. In fact, my passage said that it is not language like, isn't it? I just read that it is not language like. So, in fundamental features, it is neither language like nor symbol like. So, fine. Then we say being a symbol maker is tightly bound up with language, not so tightly with music. Not so tightly with music. So, this becomes too extreme in the light of my RC. Eliminated. Now let's look at one. Anyone who can perceive and experience music must be considered capable of musicking. Okay. Now tell me which is addressing the question about emergence of music. Isn't this again a trait of human beings that anyone who can perceive and experience music must be considered capable of musicking? So, uh, 3 is the only option here that talks about the emergence of music. No other option is actually talking about the emergence of music. Okay, 20,000 years ago, human musical capacities were not very different from what they are today. You just read this, isn't it? That if we look back 20,000 years, a small portion of this long period, we reach the lives of humans whose musical capacities were probably little different from our own. Little means not so much, not very. Okay, not very different from our own. That is what little means. So, absolutely, they were not very different from what they are today. 3 is the answer. I don't know why you felt it was a trap. You get it? It was a very straightforward question. It was a question based on a specific idea, specific portion. It was more or less a direct question, although it did not look like one. But when you look at the options, you realize just one option talks about emergence, the others don't. Okay? Hope this makes sense to you. Yes, absolutely a direct question. So don't think that just because you found the passage to be a difficult read, all the questions are also going to be very circuitous. It's not necessary. Okay, there are going to be relatively easy questions also. Look at this. Think beyond all the qualifications that might trail after this bald statement. Okay, in the context of the passage, what is the author trying to communicate in this quoted extract? Think beyond all the qualifications that might trail after this bald statement. Okay, now here it becomes again important to go back and read this part where this sentence is mentioned, right? So, read the options once if you want to, and then we'll go back. I hope you've read them. So, right at the beginning of the passage, now again you should remember this that I have to go to para 1. Humans today make music. Think beyond, think beyond all the qualifications, all the conditions and caveats as we call them, right? Think beyond all the ifs and buts, all the caveats, the conditions that might trail after, that might, come to your mind after this bald statement. Bald. What kind of a statement would be a bald statement? A very sweeping, clear statement. Okay, this is a very general, sweeping statement. Humans make music, right? A very definitive statement. So think beyond all the caveats that might come into your mind after this bald statement. Okay, then we have given, the author has then given some such caveats that might come to your mind. Okay, only certain humans make music, extensive training is involved, many societies distinguish musical specialists from non musicians. So these are just the conditions. These are just the conditions that may come to your mind. These qualifications, these conditions, these caveats, these ifs and buts that came to your mind, whatever their local merit, they may have some merit in them, are moot. What does moot mean? It's a moot point. When we say moot, so if a point is a moot point, that means it's no longer relevant, right? It's not a relevant point. It's an irrelevant point. It's something that you can't trust. It's debatable, right? So, are moot in the face of the overarching truth, the broader truth that making music, considered from a cognitive and psychological vantage, is the province, is the area of all those who perceive and experience what is made. Okay, so you had to read this entire thing very carefully. Okay, now I'll not explain this further because if I do, I'll answer the question itself. Okay, so now try to answer the question and then I'll explain it. Yes. What do you say? You have to give me what the author is trying to communicate through this. Nikhil says 2. Pratyush says 2. Okay. That's it, just 2 responses. What are the others doing? Prateek, Jaydev, Sai, Anushka, what do you say? Devesh says 3. Okay. Okay, so the author makes a very plain, simple statement: humans make music. Then the author says that think beyond all the conditions that may come to your mind after you hear this statement. So, when you hear the statement, humans make music, of course, a lot of conditions come to your mind, no, a lot of ifs and buts. Do all humans make music? But then it requires training. The author is asking you to think beyond all these qualifications. इससे आगे बढ़ो, इससे ऊपर सोचो. Why? Why does the author want us to think beyond all these qualifications? Because the author thinks that these conditions are debatable, they are irrelevant in the face of this truth, this overarching truth, this broader truth that making music is the province of all those who perceive and experience what is made. That anybody who is perceiving and experiencing music can be said to make music. We can say that, okay, this person makes music if this person can perceive and experience music. Okay, so the author wants us to think beyond because the author thinks that this is essentially true. This is a statement that is largely true, essentially true. That because anybody who can perceive and experience music, if I can say that those people make music, then of course this is true that humans make music, right? So I hope this makes sense to you. That 2 is the answer here, not 3, not 4. Let's have a look at 1, 3, and 4. This does not explain to you what the author is trying to communicate. This is just giving you the meaning of a bold statement. No, I am not really concerned with the meaning of a bold statement. पहली बात तो meaning भी सही नहीं है, but that's okay. That's still okay. I don't even need to go into that. I am not asking you the meaning. I'm asking you what is the author trying to communicate. The author is saying think beyond all of that. That means the author thinks that these qualifications don't matter, these conditions don't matter, and that's why the author is asking you to think beyond. 3 says thinking beyond qualifications allows us to give free rein to musical expressions. That is not the purpose of the author in asking you to think beyond all the qualifications. Author आपसे इसलिए कह रहा है कि इन conditions को मत सोचो, इनके आगे सोचो. Author is telling you this because the author thinks that these conditions are not really important. And not because of the fact that if you do this, you'll be able to allow yourself to give free rein to musical expressions. That's not the purpose. This is alien. Okay. Fourth says, again, fourth gives the definition of a bold statement. That a bold statement is one. That's not what the author is trying to communicate. Author's purpose is not to give you the meaning of a bold statement. इसलिए नहीं लिखी उसने line. Okay. So second is the answer here. Hope this makes sense to all of you. Okay. All right then. Let's come to the third one. Which one of the following statements, if true, would weaken the author's claim that humans are musicking creatures? You have to weaken this, you have to attack this. Okay, and here in such questions, when I ask you which of the following statements, if true, I can bring additional facts also that are not there in the passage. I can bring additional facts also that are not there in the passage. However, all these additional facts, as in the correct answer choice, even though it may have additional facts, it will be those additional facts that will directly attack this because we are trying to weaken, right? So read these and tell me which one really attacks this, that humans are musicking creatures. Yes. Yes, this is critical reasoning. Okay, let's see what the others say. I've got some responses here. Hmm. So, 2 versus 3. Okay. All right. I hope you're able to. हाँ, ठीक है. You're able to look at the screen correctly, properly. As musicking is neither language-like nor symbol-like, it is a much older form of expression. All right. So, does that mean that humans? So, when I say humans are musicking creatures, where has this been used in the passage? First, let's go back and find that out. Humans are musicking creatures. The author says, no, I'll use an older term for this. See, humans are musicking creatures. Okay. So what does the author mean when he or she says that humans are musicking creatures? That we are musicians. We make music, right? We make music. Humans make music, right? And humans are, innately musicians in a way. From a cognitive and psychological vantage, innately hum sab musicians hain. That's what the author is trying to tell us. See, in this paragraph also, the author says capacities involved in musicking are many and take shape in complicated ways, arising from innate dispositions. Innate is something that is inherent in us, जो हमारे अंदर already है. हमारी innate tendencies, innate dispositions. So it arises from innate dispositions. Most of these capacities overlap with non-musical ones, though a few may be distinct and dedicated to musical perception and production. But the point is that they are inherent in us, right? So, uh, when the author calls humans musicking creatures, the author means to say that this is something that is already there in us, right? Uh, if you look at, if you look at, just a second, your option 3. It is neither language like nor symbol like. The author is also acknowledging this. In the passage, the author is also saying that in its pure form, that it's not completely language like, it's not completely symbol like. The author has acknowledged this. It is a much older form of expression. So, how does that attack this idea? That's my question. ठीक है, older है, but innate है, but something that is inherent in human beings. As long as it stays inherent in human beings, it may be old, it may be new, but it's there. You get it? 3 is not attacking the assertion that humans are musicking creatures. All right. I actually thought that some other question was visible on your screen when I saw so many students marking 3 as the answer. Okay. Uh, Coming to 2. Non-musical capacities are of far greater consequence to human survival than the capacity for music. Okay. Uh, So, how does that affect this? I mean, how does this affect that humans are musicking creatures? Survival. Have we discussed human survival in the passage? Let's see. Have we discussed human survival? In this paragraph, I don't see us discussing human survival. Coming to these two paragraphs, again, I don't see human survival being discussed here, right? So I'm just checking. I may have missed something, right? Uh, Survival. We give symbolic meanings. Fine. Okay. Then here also, no. I do not discuss survival at all in the passage. So whether it is relevant to survival or not, right? Whether it is so, how does that affect this idea of that the idea that humans are musicking creatures? Yes. So this idea that non-musical capacities are of far greater consequence. They may be of far greater consequence to human survival. Fine, music may not be relevant to human survival at all, but I can still call humans musicking creatures as long as उनके अंदर ये inherent है. वो survival के लिए ठीक है, relevant नहीं है, but inherent है तो है. You get it? This survival does not affect something being inherent to me. Okay, those who marked two, they are taking this assumption that only those things are inherent in a person that are relevant to his or her survival. This assumption has nowhere been made in the RC passage. Eliminated. One is the answer. Musical capacities are primarily socio-cultural. See, whatever is socio-cultural in our life, कोई भी चीज जो हम अपने कल्चर से सीखते हैं, अपनी सोसाइटी से सीखते हैं, that means those things are learned after we are born. They are not innate in us. They are not inherent in us. Right? So if I say that musical capacities are socio-cultural, that means humans are not innately musicking creatures. They learn it. Okay? So, one is the answer here. You get it? This is a critical reasoning question. You develop an understanding of these questions and then you eliminate. Non-musical capacities is not the topic of discussion here. Survival, not the topic of discussion here. So, it's not attacking this. Right? This, whether older, whether newer, does not attack this. This supports this, because if it's an unconscious disposition, that means it's present very deep in ourselves. ये बहुत deep हमारी psyche में है. That means yes, it's innate. So this is supporting rather than attacking. One is the answer. Okay, tough question. Yes, yes, yes. So this was indeed a difficult question, right? And in the exam, if let's say um, I did not really understand this idea. What does the author mean by humans are musicking creatures? I would probably have left this question if I were unable to eliminate one of the two choices, right? If I were just stuck, I would not mark this question because anyway, मुझे difficult लग ही रहा था question. Get it? So the first two could have been attempted, this could have been left. Now, coming to the last question, which of the following sets of terms best serves as keywords to the passage? अब passage में जो जो keywords हैं उनको best कौन से describe करते हो option? So it's more or less a main idea question. I'm asking you the flow of the passage. Passage में क्या क्या main ideas हैं and कैसे कैसे वो flow कर रहे हैं. Okay. So tell me, without going back, read the options once and just eliminate the ones that you can eliminate easily. Tell me कौन सी easily eliminate हो रही है. One option that can be easily eliminated. Yes. There is one option that can be very easily eliminated here. I want you to tell me which that is. Okay. See, this passage talks about music, doesn't it? Talks about music. So, option 3 does not even talk about music. Option 3 तो music की बात ही नहीं कर रही है. Yes? The word musicking is not present at all, whereas the other three, they have the word musicking, which is a very important word for this passage. 3 does not have it. So I'll eliminate 3 right away. Get it? So that was the one that I was looking for. That 3 was something that I could eliminate right away. Okay. Now, some of you have also said 1 and 2. All right. Okay. So 1 and 2 on what basis have you eliminated? Uh, There are clues there. There are clues there. Antique. Very good. Antique is not really a keyword, isn't it? Antique is not a keyword. So eliminated here. How about 2? Okay, so it's 2 or 4. 2 versus 4. So see which is better there. Which is better? Between 2 and 4, which one would you say is better? Who is this guy, Cassirer? I remember reading something about him, but is it a keyword? Is it something that's very, very topical to my passage? Something by him was mentioned. He gave his opinion somewhere, right? But it's again not a keyword, and that is why even option 3 can be even option 2 can be eliminated. Humans, fine, an important keyword. Musicking, an important keyword, right? Now, even psychological vantage is not really an important keyword, because the author talked about the fact that when you look from a cognitive and psychological perspective, humans are musicking creatures. So, just psychological vantage is not an important idea, right? So, because of this and because of this, I will eliminate option 2. 4 is the best choice. We do talk about humans, we talk about how they're musicking creatures, we talk about their linguistic capacities and symbol making capacities, that how they are partly related to musicking but not completely related to musicking. And when we talk about the emergence of music, we say that it is as old as the emergence of modern humanity, right? So, fourth is our best answer choice. Absolutely correct, Nikhil. Because of that, Kasirer, this guy's name was there in the passage somewhere and he gave some opinion. Okay. Yes, he called human beings symbolicus. Sapiens symbolicus, something was mentioned, no? That we are symbol makers too. The species that Cassirer dubbed Homo symbolicus. So Cassirer must have been a philosopher or a biologist, and he called Homo sapiens, he called our species Homo symbolicus. He basically wanted to indicate through this that how human beings have this habit of making symbols, of creating symbols. That's why instead of calling us Homo sapiens, he called us Homo symbolicus. That's all. That's all the mention of Cassirer in the passage. Definitely not a keyword, right? So, I hope this is clear. 2 is eliminated. 4th is the answer here. Okay. Now, I hope you got some sense as to how to navigate a difficult passage. It's okay, you may not have understood everything, but you can still attempt at least 2 out of 4 questions as we did today. Okay, even the last question was not tricky if you were able to identify some very obvious words and some obvious options that could not be the answers, right? And if you also decided to, let's say, not attempt a difficult question if you were not getting it at all. If you don't get stuck, then even difficult passages are pretty doable in the exam. Okay, so your homework is that you have to read these in-depth essays that I talked about, journal articles. In non-fiction, see, one RC from Sapiens has appeared in your CAT, right? So you can begin from there, Sapiens, Homo Deus, right? Then for psychology, let's say, because we talked about a psychological vantage also today, there's this book, Man's Search of Meaning by Viktor Frankl, The Interpretation of Dreams by Freud. In case you feel that you don't want to start with something philosophical, okay, something that talks about the philosophy of psychology, you can start with a relatively more interesting, more gripping book, The Power of Habit. Okay, it talks about how we can make and break habits easily. Um, then, if you ask about philosophy, which is again a very important area, there's this book called Sophie's World, which present it's a fiction. Now it's fiction here, but it's more of non-fiction because it talks about various Western philosophies. Okay, from ancient to modern, it covers various Western philosophies, but in a very interesting manner, in a very simple manner, right? So let me recommend one more in case you want to read something that is related to history, politics, then I would recommend India After Gandhi. Uh, it will give you a very good perspective of India's political history. Okay. So that is why I'm recommending this. That's the motivation behind recommending this. So these are some books that you can read. You were asking for suggestions. Okay. Understanding the question is extremely important. Pratik, I've suggested the books, important magazines and other books. Okay. Sai, I have actually taken a whole session on this where I talk to you about the sources from where you can read. Okay. So, in fact, just go to this session, CAT 2023 strategy. Right. When I took this session, VRC strategy, there I gave all the sources in detail. Okay. So, Pratik, that's why we are having these sessions so that we improve at RCs. It's a gradual process, it happens with practice. Keep reading, read every day, and solve a couple of passages every week. Okay, gradually after 20-25 RCs at least, you will see an inflection point in your understanding, in your preparation. Okay, so give it some time. All right. This is our CAT 23 comprehensive program. We provide you with a lot of RC sessions, grammar sessions, vocabulary, verbal logic sessions, etc. as part of it. And you can enroll in it right now. The link is in the description box. Then they will be having a workshop on the 14th at 8 p.m. where we'll talk to you about how to manage your preparation with studies and job. We'll give you a very specific plan regarding this. Again, the link is in the description box. You can register right now. This is our All India CMAT mock that will start from 21st. Okay, it will give you a real CMAT experience so that you get to know what the exam pattern is like, how the time is distributed across sections, okay, and how you have to manage your own time, etc. So again, you can register for it right now. And yes, we can stay connected via various social media platforms. I hope you've subscribed to the channel, right, so that you get notifications. And you can also download our app. There also we conduct a lot of CAT 2023 free sessions, okay? And we've already had 2 or 3 series here, so you can download and watch those sessions. That will also help in improving at RCs. Okay then, this is it from my side for today. Welcome, welcome, and I'll see you tomorrow. No, I'll see you on Tuesday now. Okay. The challenges that you face, Jaidev, one is vocabulary, the other is lack of familiarity with the genre, right? So if I am not, let's say, a commerce student and I start reading business articles today, I haven't read them earlier, then things will appear very alien to me. So that's one challenge, right? So those challenges that we discussed in the beginning, those are the major challenges. But you overcome them gradually if you keep up at it. डिफिकल्टी आ रही है पर उसको रीड करते रहो, गूगल करो, राइट, जो नहीं समझ में आ रहा, ग्रेजुअली इट बिकम्स इजियर. ओके. Vocabulary builder. Vocabulary builder. It's by Magoosh. Welcome, welcome, guys. Bye bye. See you. I hope you've liked the session. Bye.